Welcome to the Flynn Brothers podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Jimmy. Today's big idea: the best types of restaurants.
We talk about why we love going out to all types of restaurants and the various factors that make a restaurant great.
Later, we run through our list of best types of restaurants, describing the food, atmosphere, and staff that make these places unique.
Finally, we debate the best cuisine.
It's all coming up. But first, here's the Solons.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I feel like a kid on Christmas morning because, to my delight, earlier today, I found on our Flynn Bros pod email,
Our business email,
a wonderful note from Nico from San Francisco, an avid listener of the podcast. And, we've gotten several fan emails. We don't always put them on the airwaves, but we're going to do it today. It was a lovely email, and there's kind of some questions and thoughts Nico presented that I thought we could sort of discuss before we get into today's podcast, the best types of restaurants. How's that sound,
Sounds
buddy?
good to me.
I'm going to quote from the email. What up, Flynn Bros? Long-time listener, first-time emailer here. I got some random questions and thoughts for you fellas. Number 1, is there an official Flynn Bros Letterboxd account? If not, I wish there would be. We'd love to follow along your random movie thoughts / ratings. What do you think of that?
It's certainly a good idea. We have lots of thoughts and ratings of movies.
I enjoy the Letterboxd videos that have gone viral of, on the red carpet, they ask the actors, directors, what are your 4 favorite films? That's kind of the gimmick they do. I really enjoy that. That's sort of in our wheelhouse. Maybe we create an account in the near future and do 4 favorites, something like that.
Start firing stuff off. Well, you review every movie that you see on Letterboxd.
That's correct. That's correct. Well, it'd be a good thing to tie in with the pod. All right, number 2. Nico says, I was wondering if you could give fans a heads up when you have a book club podcast planned / in the works so we could read it real quick before the episode releases. Fabulous idea. What do you think of that idea?
Anything to encourage literacy among the American public.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. It's a fabulous
Great idea.
We'll be sure to do that. Number 3, have you watched The Studio Season 1? I thought it was absolutely hilarious and always love watching things about show business / the industry and all the jabs they throw at executives, actors, directors, etc. The camera work and score of the show are amazing too. I think it got a handful of Emmy nominations for that sort of stuff. It did. It got more than a handful of Emmy nominations. I think it broke a record even for how many Emmy nominations it got. Neither of us have watched The Studio Season 1 in full. I have not seen it at all. You've seen a couple of them?
I've seen the first 3 episodes.
And you really have enjoyed it so far.
I thought they were pretty spectacular. Seth Rogen is brilliantly cast. They do a lot of the oneer style of camera work.
Long takes, yes.
There's an episode where he basically screws up an attempt of a movie to do a one-shot at golden hour, and the episode itself is a one-shot at golden hour.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty spectacular.
I love Seth Rogen. I'm really excited to start watching The Studio. The only thing that has prevented me is I don't have an Apple subscription. It's why I haven't seen Severance and stuff. So I think I'm going to get on that. I've waited to have a period of time where I can do the 1-week trial and just try to shotgun as many episodes as I can, but I think I'll splurge and maybe get a little 3-month plan during the holidays, something like that.
There you go.
4th point. I love when Nicole Kidman welcomes me to the AMC. Signed, Nico. So, yes, Nico, we agree. Nicole Kidman at the AMC. Glad he likes that unironically. I know we talked about it on one of our previous podcasts. And what were you going to jump in and say?
Well, I think we were questioning if people legitimately did like that. So I like that we're getting this feedback. This is the feedback that we want from our listeners. And, the more that I think about it, if there really is to be anybody, it is kind of funny that a movie star does welcome you to the movie theater.
Makes sense.
It's like Mickey welcoming you to Disneyland.
Yeah, it makes sense. Ronald welcoming you to McDonald's. It just makes sense. Nicole Kidman, the Ronald McDonald of films, I suppose. But yes, thank you again, Nico, for for the lovely email. We love fan emails. And if you write such a lovely one as Nico did, it'll probably get onto the Flynn Bros pod airwaves. So if you're looking for a little attention, a reason to brag to friends at work or a lady you're trying to woo.
Oh, this is a
This
surefire.
is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. I don't have a transition, but we're going to awkwardly transition out to today's episode where we are talking about the best types of restaurants. Buddy, we love to go out to eat, don't we?
Absolutely.
It's one of our favorite things in the world. I think it's one of the great things about living in Los Angeles is there are just so many great types of restaurants and so many different kinds of great types of restaurants. You can have any type of cuisine and expert and authentic versions of the cuisine at that. And we really don't discriminate when we go out. High end, low end. We're doing a lot of low end. We're not the richest fellas in the world. But we really love every type of restaurant experience, don't we?
Yeah, I sure don't discriminate against high-end meals.
Especially if you're not paying.
I think it's one of the one of the true joys of life is to go out to eat. It's all the wonderful things about consuming food with none of the hassle.
Yes, you don't have to do dishes. You get waited on. Really, the best types of restaurants transport you. They give you an experience, whether that experience is, at a shack by the sea having a fish taco or a nice, lovely French meal, white tablecloths, waiters in tuxedos. It really doesn't matter. It's just I'm going for an experience in which I desire to be transported.
You get taken care of.
We especially love classic restaurants, places with some history in Los Angeles. There's many restaurants we'll go to that are 75, 80, 100 years old. And it's so cool going to these places knowing that famous celebrities from over the years have been there, or just big families have had gatherings there. And you can almost, with some of these places, when you go in, you could feel the history a bit, can't you?
They're like positive ghosts.
Yes.
All you can tell there's just been a ton of good times that have happened right where you're sitting, and the tradition of cuisine too is great because you're like, man, I'm eating something that somebody ate 80 years ago.
Yes.
Is also a fascinating.
And it's stayed the same, in this world where things change so rapidly. And with great restaurants, it's one thing to have great food. You have to have great food, and it has to be a fun place to go to. But there's so many other things that are encapsulated in what makes a restaurant great, and you can't always qualify them, but we're going to do our best to talk about sort of the distinct factors that make restaurants great. And we've come up with sort of 4 criteria that we're going to talk about with all these restaurant types. Number 1, we're going to talk about, obviously, the food. So one of the questions we're going to ask with all these restaurant types is, what is this type of restaurant's test food? What do we consider a test food? What do we mean by that?
If this food is good, then the restaurant is probably good.
Yes, it's usually a very simple dish that this restaurant must do well, and if does not, it does not bode well for the restaurant. And then we'll talk about other favorite dishes as well. Second item of criteria, the atmosphere. So what is the decor? What is the vibe like at these types of places? Again, not discriminating low-end, high-end restaurants, etc. The staff is the third bit of criteria. Who usually works there? They don't necessarily have to be friendly. They don't necessarily have to be, someone who's like you. But again, they have to be distinct, right?
I would say of all the restaurant types that we're choosing, none of these have the faux friendly, overly talky style of waiter that most people don't really enjoy.
Yes. I also noticed there's not a lot of like fast casual, like sort of Chipotle type places. We're really going for more distinct types of places. And then the last bit of criteria, the company. So who are you bringing and why are you going to this restaurant? Is it a special occasion? Is it an everyday type of thing? Let's talk about sort of the company and the eating experience there. Couple of quick disclaimers before we dive in. These are all going to be American restaurants. So there will be different cuisines and ethnicities, but these are all American versions of these places, okay? So if we do an Italian restaurant, for instance, it's going to be an American version of an Italian restaurant. We live here in America. Yes, we've gone abroad and eaten at all these places, but we are talking about distinctly American restaurant types.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible probably to categorize all of the great worlds around, all of the great restaurants all around the world, so we got to narrow it necessarily.
And throughout this, we're going to be generalizing a bit, in talking about these restaurant types. So not every restaurant is like this. We're going to be talking about, for instance, like a Mediterranean restaurant, right? Not every Mediterranean restaurant in the entire country is going to be exactly how we describe, but we're kind of doing these sort of generalizations.
These are, I would even call it our ideal versions
Yes,
of these
yes.
restaurants. What we would like to see when we walk through the door.
Things we have appreciated in the past that we always love to see when we go to these places. And then last thing, we could name restaurants we've been to that fit the criteria and fit these restaurant styles, but I think it kind of excludes people who maybe haven't lived in the cities we've lived in or gone to the restaurants we've gone to. So we're basically, again, just going to give you the general outline of these places, and hopefully they'll jog memories of places like this that you've been to, or give you an idea of, I've never been to that type of restaurant. I'm going to seek it out and try to find one near me. And if you find one and it's good, man, these places are worth their weight in gold, ain't they?
Well, they'd be pretty heavy.
Oh, certainly.
A whole restaurant. But yes, we sent out opportunities for sponsorships. Didn't hear back.
No, did not hear back. Yes, I don't know. We got the fan email, and that's really
right.
what counts.
That's right.
All right, our first restaurant type, one of our favorites, American diner. What is the test food at an American diner?
Bacon, eggs, hash browns, and then whatever bread they give you.
Yes. Bacon has to be crispy or done to your specifications. More importantly, egg, they have to be done to your specifications. Scrambled, over medium, over easy. They have to be perfect. Hash browns got to be crispy on the outside, super fluffy on the inside.
The eggs must be cooked in butter.
Oh, absolutely. Or that weird oil that you just do the ladle of.
The
onto
clarified
the flat top.
butter, I think also, yeah.
Yeah. Diners, they're kind of best for breakfast and lunch in terms of the food items. So we talked about bacon, eggs, hash browns. I think waffles, pancakes are always a solid bet. You love biscuits and gravy.
I've always been a big biscuits and gravy guy. I did not like eggs, similar to Guy Fieri, for much of my life, and eventually I came around on them. But for a while, if you don't like eggs, there aren't that many options for you at a breakfast joint. So biscuits and gravy was my go-to.
For lunch, these diners, they always got to have a patty melt. They always got to have a club sandwich, some sort of open face kind of turkey dinner.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Some sort of Thanksgiving plate. And then, of course, a Cobb salad or some big salad. One of my rules about a diner is when you go to a diner, the drink you order should be brown. And that basically gives you three options. You should either be having black coffee, a Coca-Cola, or a chocolate shake. And sometimes I'll get two of the three, Yeah. I think that's a pretty hard and fast rule for me when I'm at an old school American diner.
Brown drinks exclusively. The other thing too is it's really the only place you can get a patty melt. They don't really have them anywhere else. Burger Shacks don't typically have a patty melt, and boy, I love one of those.
Yeah, if you've never had one, caramelized onions. They're usually on rye bread. They usually got a spread on them. The burger's nice and juicy. Usually got a little heft to it. They're delicious.
American cheese.
American
Copious
cheese,
amounts
of
melty American cheese, which is a Flynn brother favorite.
Talk to me about the atmosphere at an American diner.
You want pleather booths. You don't want them to be actual leather.
Or vinyl.
Vinyl,
maybe,
I guess is what you'd call it. There's these J-shaped counters, so it sort of comes out of one wall and then swoops around. They've got stools. There's chrome accents and a neon sign, hopefully somewhere.
There is a very esoteric American diner near where we grew up in Sacramento called Pancake Circus that has a lot of these hallmarks of decor that you mentioned, but on top of it, on all the TVs, they're always doing the lotto numbers. And then they also have these non-copyright versions of Winnie the Pooh characters that are let's kind of Tigger and kind of Eeyore and kind of Piglet, but yeah, it makes the place very, very distinct. If you're ever in Sacramento, Pancake Circus, worth a trip.
We weren't supposed to give recommendations, but I think this is a example of a diner should have some weird twist on it. I think the best ones have this little stank to them.
And it can't feel like a Johnny Rockets. It can't feel like 50s. It can't feel like a film set where there's like, the jukebox. It just can't feel too nostalgic. It needs to feel authentic. It can't feel like it's a put on with some of the decor.
Yeah, it's not like they want it to look like the past. It just does look like the past because they haven't changed things.
The staff at an American diner are very distinct. It's usually these, I guess you'd call them personality-heavy waitresses who seem like, they've worked there 40 years. The line you always hear at a diner is, the waitress comes by, more coffee, hun.
Yeah.
They should always be, that coffee should be piping hot. It should never go below half on your mug. It should just be getting filled up constantly. And the waitresses, too, like, they deal with so many customers. It's usually always busy, and they just, it's like a career for them, right? They just love the environment.
Yeah, the coffee also should not be, by conventional definitions, good.
Yes.
It should be diner coffee.
Yeah.
And the waitresses, there needs to be either this aggrieved nature that you're almost, how dare, like, they need to be welcoming and serving the duty, but sometimes there's a little bit of brusqueness, which I like, or there's a stand-up comedy element where they're kind of carrying on. And this you typically will find, I feel like, at the counter, where you'll often find maybe some lonelier gentleman eating alone, and she's sort of got a running conversation going with all of them.
And then in the back, you have these sort of stoic, surly, unshaven fry cooks. It's very similar to when we did our Grapes of Wrath podcast and we talk about all the roadside restaurants that they go to. There's always the like personality heavy, waitress, cashier in the front of house, and then back of house, it's the surly, stoic, unshaven fry cook. The company you bring to a diner. When are you going to a diner? What's this occasion?
You're going out with extended family, because there's usually a huge menu at a diner to order from, so anybody can get what they like, or it's something where you're stumbling in hungover, or you're just a private detective and you're going there alone.
Last thing, diner, when you're getting the coffee, you want those nice thick ceramic mugs. That's a must. All right, let's move on to our next type of restaurant, the Jewish deli. What is the test food at the Jewish deli?
The test food is a pastrami sandwich.
Absolutely. Talk to me about what makes a great pastrami sandwich.
Me, I like sort of a Reuben, or sometimes these are called the special. I like to have Swiss cheese on it. I like to have the Thousand Island, and then either coleslaw or sauerkraut. Some people just get the straight pastrami, which is good, but I like a little bit of stuff to complement it. A beautiful pastrami is a deep, like purplish red.
Yeah.
The smokiness comes through. The peppercorn crust comes through.
Can't be too fatty or sinewy. Has to be a good mix of lean and fatty, and not too tough.
Absolutely. Sliced as thin as you can get it.
Or you can do it somewhat thick,
Yeah.
but it needs to have structure, right? It can't just be big slabs of it.
No, it should be sort of falling apart.
Yes,
Another part of it, and obviously the flavor needs to be an absolute explosion.
Other great foods at a Jewish diner, babka, the wonderful kind of swirled bread with either cinnamon or chocolate. Bagels, another good test food, getting lox with them, etc. Matzo ball soup also could have been a great test food. You need nice clean broth and nice big matzo balls. The desserts too, you at a Jewish deli, you want those huge slices of carrot or chocolate cake. And it's always great when they give you the pickles right when you show up.
Pickles are also, I would say, a test food, because they're putting that out like, here, try this. We know what we're doing here. If you can make a good pickle, you're probably in the right place.
A similar sort of style of restaurant is the German Hofbrau, which that's like hotter food generally. Jewish deli, you'll maybe get some colder items. But any type of kind of cafeteria style is sort of encompassed in this, although the Jewish deli is much more specific.
A lot of salt going on.
Yeah,
at
a
Jewish
lot of
deli.
sodium. Yeah, your hands are going to swell up.
Lots of brine. And then they often will also serve corned beef, which, this maybe goes against my Irish heritage here, but I'll take pastrami over corned beef any day. I mean, corned beef is basically just, pastrami without a tuxedo on.
Yeah, or at least without black pepper. Yeah, that's a good point. The atmosphere at a Jewish deli, it's kind of similar to the American diner, but it's a little more elevated. There are those typically vinyl booths. There's a big emphasis on like family history and like Jewish heirlooms, especially during like Jewish holidays and stuff. You'll sort of see that decor. I always really like when family photos are up and photos of, the restaurant's old menus, and it's like, oh, the pastrami sandwich used to be 25 cents.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
always so fun when, you feel like you're in a time machine.
Absolutely. And typically it's, a family tradition of some sort. A lot of these places, I think get bonus points if they've been in a family for a while.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
I think the best restaurants make you feel as though you're coming into somebody's home.
Yes,
And
yes.
these people are really taking good care of you. And I'd say the Jewish deli is right up there in terms of that feeling.
Yes. The staff at a Jewish deli, there's a good mix of waiters and waitresses. They're usually pretty no nonsense. They're usually, getting down to business. The menus are always huge at Jewish delis, but they never, the waiters hardly have to write stuff down, hardly have to glance at the menu. Often you'll make substitutions or ask, can I do this? And they're like, yeah, totally. And it's like, whatever,
Yeah.
I'll charge an extra $1. Who cares? But they really, I find, are impatient with indecisiveness. Don't you
yeah.
find that? Like, you better have your mind made up when they come by.
You got to be ready to go. I mean, another classic move to signal to the waiter that you're ready is your menu is closed.
Yes,
If you have a
right.
closed menu and you don't know what you're getting, they might just literally throw you out like DJ Jazzy Jeff. And yeah, I think too the just competence is at
Yes,
an extremely high level at the Jewish deli. You often have to be trained specifically
Yeah,
to work
yeah.
in these places. This isn't somewhere you just walk in off the street.
No. And occasionally with like a manager or co-owner or somebody who's worked there a long time, you'll kind of get the stereotypical kind of like grandmother figure if we're at the Jewish deli, which is always nice. They'll come by and check on you and feel like kind of a nice, sweet Jewish grandma, and it's very sweet.
You would love to get called boobala by
Yes,
this
yes,
person.
that would,
I would say they're typically working maybe the cashier
Yes,
stand
yes,
or they're
right.
the hostess. Yeah, again, just goes to that family feel.
Company, when you go into a Jewish deli.
Boy, you'd like it to be with your extended family and not on your dime.
Yes,
Because
yes.
as opposed, even though it's very down to earth feeling in a Jewish deli, they are typically not very cheap.
They are expensive, but not overpriced.
Yes.
And I will also say, when you go to a Jewish deli and you order something, you're essentially ordering that lunch or that dinner and then tomorrow's lunch or dinner, right? If you get a pastrami sandwich, it's like you could have half the pastrami sandwich and half the rice and you'll be set. Like, they really load you up, and it's maybe a little more money, but it's always a great value.
The Flynn family last year, a fun little piece of lore, went to a Jewish deli on Christmas.
That's right. We usually cook on Christmas, but
Didn't feel like it.
didn't feel like it this year. And yeah, on
That's the one-
Jesus's birthday, we went to a
Hey,
Jewish deli.
I'm sure
yeah.
he would have loved that food, considering
true,
his
yeah.
heritage. And that's one place that you always know is open on Christmas.
All right, quick break. We'll be right back. And we're back. It's important to note that we aren't necessarily listing these in order. These are just, we've come up with these great restaurant types, and they're in, you couldn't possibly rank them. They're all so great in their unique ways.
Yes.
There's no point in, we shouldn't be slaves to that human desire for order and categorization and patterns,
These are equals, in a
Equals.
way. The greatness among equals, there's some phrase.
I don't know it, but let's grab our
First
knife.
among equals. I
Let's
don't know.
grab our fork and let's dig back in. Our next restaurant, fine Italian eatery. Perhaps one of my favorite types of restaurants. What is the test food at the fine Italian eatery?
A pasta with meat sauce.
It's not always something you order as an entree. It's usually something that'll come almost as a side. But if a fine Italian eatery is overcooking the pasta, or the meat sauce only has one type of meat or is way too zesty with those dried herbs or the sauce hasn't cooked long enough, it's just an immediate dud.
If
And
there's a undercooked tomato
yes,
in the sauce,
it's not going to
like
do.
you don't have to have fresh tomatoes. That is
No.
not something that's a necessity for
no.
sauce. Quite the opposite, actually.
Canned is often great. Yeah, you really don't need fresh tomatoes often.
And
yeah.
you want to cook the bejesus.
Yes, it
out
should
of
be
them.
cooking all day. It should be sitting on the back of the stove
Yeah.
all day at a low
Should
simmer.
have started at 8 a.m.
Yep, low simmer. That's the test food. Other great foods at a fine Italian eatery: chicken parm, one of my favorites. Lasagna. Whew. Man, if chicken parm and lasagna aren't my favorites, they're in the top two. There's always a special. Osso buco's one you'll see a lot. Some type of short rib or some slow cooked kind of item. Veal chop. Or like a veal Milanese. They'll always have steaks.
Whatever steak you want.
Whatever ribeye, whatever you want. Filet mignon. Fish, they'll usually do like a whole fish, like a branzino or a great like petrale sole with nice light breading, butter. And the daily special, like we said, is always great. At a fine Italian eatery, the multiple preparations are really what set it apart. You know, you should be able to order things that can be grilled, that can be broiled, that can be fried, that can be sautéed in a pan. You really should be able to get any type of protein, any type of preparation, but all of it basically is falling into that like fine dining Italian, French, American category.
Yes, and each version should be perfectly done. There should not be you got to get this grilled. Oh, you got to get this way. Every
Right.
single way should be done excellently. And typically there is like a legitimate grill, like
Yes.
an
Oh, yeah.
old grill
Yeah.
in a hearth or a fireplace somewhere, and that's another good thing you want to see.
And it should be ripping hot.
Yes.
The cocktails got to be stiff, got to be expertly mixed. If you're at a really great joint, they'll give you the sidecar, which means they pour you the drink in the glass, and then on ice, they'll give you like a little carafe or like a little bottle of the extra part of your drink that you can pour as a refill. That is always a beautiful touch, isn't it?
Similar to the milkshake that you would get at an American diner.
Right, with the extra tin of shake.
If you don't get the tin,
What's the point of getting the milkshake if you don't get the tin?
I got to know what it was made in.
The atmosphere. Fine Italian eateries, they always have the leather booths, usually red, and up against kind of the wooden fixtures. There's always the old lacquered wooden table, usually a white tablecloth, and the silverware. The silverware is always very heavy. If you order like a big steak or chicken parm or something I love that the waiter will do to kind of tease you is like 5 minutes before your steak comes out, he'll come just drop a huge steak knife on your table, and you're just like, oh, baby, here we go.
You're going to need this.
Yeah, this monster, I saw it on the grill. You're going to want this weapon to cut into it.
And I think most of them, they're smoky, even though no one's allowed to smoke cigarettes
right.
inside. It's dark. It's very warm lighting. There's almost a humidity from all of the cooking food and just human bodies that are in there.
When you come in, your face should almost turn red with joy, and when you leave, it's from the booze, the food. There's just a warmth to these kind of places. The staff is always very distinct at these joints. It's typically all male. Sometimes it'll be like an occasional, more like masculine woman with like a tight ponytail, but it's usually all male. They're usually like in tuxedos, like dressed to the absolute nines. And these are essentially like career waiters. These are guys who make a very good living, who are like top shelf, top class. And they always have kind of like slick back hair, or they're like clean shaven, or have like a very neat mustache. They always have this sort of like personal hygiene etiquette to them, don't they?
These are the New York Yankees of waiters.
Right. And then the bus boys, again, top shelf, salt of the earth, really efficient, really effective. They have those little metal scrapers they'll use on your tablecloth to collect the crumbs from the lovely bread they set down for you when you sit down. And then, of course, at the check-in counter, you have sort of the maitre d', the maestro, if you will, and he's in a slightly different tuxedo than all the other waiters. He's not necessarily captain of the ship, but
he's the drill sergeant. I would say he's the
maybe.
he is the captain. in a military sense, typically seemingly a waiter who's been around for a long time. And when he's not lording over his post at the open of the restaurant, you see him going around making everybody else who works there live in fear of his wrath and high standards.
Bit of a taskmaster, as we like to say. The company at the fine Italian eatery, it's usually family or very close friends. It's something where you're not going with a friend you haven't seen in a while. You're not going necessarily with someone you haven't been dating very long. It's somewhere you go for anniversaries, for graduations, birthdays, big celebrations like, oh, you got your dream job or whatever. And, you know, like with some of these other places we mentioned, when that check comes, you're just praying to God you're not the one who has to lay down the card.
That's right. They're expensive. Price should be no object. That shouldn't even be something that you're thinking of at this sort of place. It's a place for special occasions with special people.
Let's go somewhere we don't have to spend as much money. An LA favorite, the Mexican taco stand. We love these. There is one virtually on every corner once the sun goes down here in Los Angeles. What's the test food at the Mexican taco stand?
A street taco with cilantro and onions, trying their homemade salsa. The meat should be grilled or flame licked off a spit, cooked at extremely high temperatures. And what you really want to is a fresh tortilla made from masa right in front of you, pressed on the press and slapped down on that aforementioned ripping hot flat iron grill.
The corn tortillas are always great. Really, too, though, if you get a burrito and you have those big flour tortillas, you want the lard and the chewiness and the riquísima, you know, style to that tortilla, you know.
It almost is equivalent calories in the tortilla as to what is inside of it.
The great thing they do at these Mexican taco stands is they will, you know, people like getting cheese in their burrito. They will throw the cheese right onto the flat top and then throw the tortilla on top. So the cheese will essentially get griddled onto the tortilla. You'll see this a lot with like a quesadilla taco. Phenomenal.
Try this at home on a nonstick pan.
Easy peasy. Look at all these helpful hints you get. The atmosphere at a Mexican taco stand, like we said, they're usually on a street corner. They're usually under a tent. I forget what you call those things. You see them at like soccer tournaments. Canopy, maybe, or like a pup tent.
That's not quite right.
Pup, that
they're
sounds wrong.
Blue. They have metal sticks.
Poles. Sometimes they're
them.
Red. I don't know.
Pyramid shape.
A taco truck is also acceptable. If you're lucky, there'll be some like plastic, like kindergarten classroom furniture to sit on, but that's totally optional. You know, the sidewalk, the curb,
leaning up against the building.
These are perfectly good furniture options. And usually they're cooking, you know, you mentioned the spit, like for al pastor, like the flat top. Sometimes they'll have the grill or smoker built into like the half an oil barrel, which is always very cool. And then, you know, they kind of have an assembly line where they'll put together the taco burrito or whatever. And then at the end, they'll have napkins, big buckets of salsa and the chopped onions and cilantro. And you can take as much of that as you want. It's just, God, it's wonderful, isn't it? The staff at a Mexican taco stand, they, to be frank, like here in Los Angeles, they are usually people from Mexico. And that means like when you go up there, like you either hope you have decent enough Spanish to communicate, or you hope they take pity on you and have decent enough English to, you know, take pity on you and be able to take your order. But it's kind of every transaction is sort of in Spanglish, I feel like, at these places.
You're trying to show off your Spanish. They're using the English that they've learned through their many transactions they've done.
And folks, it's usually a family affair, so it'll be like two couples or, you know, brothers, or like kind of like a couple and like their nephew, or, you know, some kid who's like not working or you're not in school because it's summer break or something like that.
Seem to be having a good time, too.
Oh, yes,
like
it's
a bonding experience, even if they're not like, hey, how are you, when you walk up to them.
Typically, it's divided on gender, the responsibilities. The man's usually working the grill or spit, you know, like an absolute maestro, and then the woman is is usually doing the tortillas, assembling the tacos, burritos, and then is usually the cashier. And yeah, it works well. Why is it, you think, in these so many restaurants, the man is kind of manning the grill and he's in the back kind of away from people, and then the woman is more social and the sort of face of the enterprise?
I think because people like interacting with women more than they like interacting with men.
They're just more pleasant.
They're more pleasant, and yeah, more men are brusque and gruff, and they're like, I'd like to be with the meat and the fire.
Right. Caveman brain, I guess. And then the company, when you go to a Mexican taco stand, you're usually it's like a night out and you're with friends. Maybe you've had a couple of adult beverages. It can be like a really cheap weeknight dinner for like a couple or just by yourself. And I think too, like, if someone comes from out of town, particularly to Los Angeles, great place to take them, because it's like, hey, wherever you're from, they probably don't have this particular type of Mexican joint.
Yeah, and these last two restaurants that we've talked about are good examples of it doesn't matter what the atmosphere is. You can have world-class cuisine wherever you are. If you're on the street corner, you're on one of the most legendary restaurants in the world.
Brilliantly said. We're doing another Mexican joint. We are calling this type of restaurant the Mexican-American Hot Thick Platter Restaurant. The reason we did that is because these are like Mexican-American sit-down restaurants where you always get a big, thick kind of ceramic plate, right? You get these big platos, and the plate is usually like a light green or a yellow or an orange, and they always come out piping hot, and they always tell you not to touch it. What is the test food at the Mexican-American Hot Thick Platter Restaurant?
The rice and beans are the sort of basic, these must be good.
Yes.
And then going to a slightly higher level, carnitas, and as opposed to the Mexican taco stand where I would say corn tortillas, where you really want to test it out, the flour tortilla at the Mexican-American restaurant is what you're looking for.
Tex-Mex joints kind of are a subcategory of these. I guess you just add more queso and you essentially get a Tex-Mex joint.
Yeah, these are places where cheese factors heavily into everything. Every dish should come melty cheese on top. Everything should be slapped under the salamander before it comes out to you.
Great dishes. You'll get enchiladas, chile rellenos are always great. Wet burritos, hard shell tacos. And, of course, when you sit down, you should be getting bottomless chips and salsa. Almost a wasteful amount.
Too much. Like, you should almost fill yourself on the amount of chips and salsa that they bring to you. Then your food comes, and then they're like, oh, you're out of chips and salsa. I'll get you some more.
Yeah.
And you're like, no. And then you're like, all right, I'll definitely take a few more.
If every dish has melted cheese on top, every dish typically also has iceberg lettuce and diced tomatoes as well.
You got to have the healthy component and balance it out.
If you're getting a beverage, an ice cold beer or a margarita is a great way to go.
Yeah.
When you're,
another good test subject.
Yes. A good margarita. Yes. If it's too sweet, if you can't, taste any of the booze, probably not great. It should have that nice balance.
These places are not necessarily aiming for authenticity.
No.
Like, they are, by their very nature, this hybridized type of restaurant. But the margarita is a way where they can show, like, we know, we understand how to really do this well. We're not.
This is real. Yeah, this is real lime juice. This is a solid pour of tequila, etc. I think you're right. Moving on to atmosphere. These places are not going for authenticity. It's supposed to be a little tacky. It's supposed to be this almost imagined, almost like pastoral image of old Mexico, right? There's usually like a big mural of like a rural scene in Mexico, and they'll have other kind of, stereotypical motifs like with bullfighting, and they'll have like Christmas lights or bright colors.
A donkey is painted up somewhere, a sombrero hanging, ponchos.
What are
those blankets that are rainbow colored?
What are those like paper cutouts they have? They're like, they'll sometimes hang them like from the awnings or just like the hallways and stuff.
They are called papel picado, which
Okay.
basically just means like perforated paper.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But
Those are great.
Yeah,
and then,
those
of
are
course, like kind of like the Jewish deli, these joints always have the family photos. There's usually the founder who is, if the restaurant's been around a long time, the founder's passed away, and they're usually up front of the restaurant as this like shrine to the founder of the restaurant. They got a big picture of him and you know all these like flowers and like tributes to him and stuff.
Bonus points if it's like a painted portrait.
Yes. Another great thing about these Mexican American, what are we calling them? Hot, thick platter restaurants. They always put up the newspaper reviews, like the glowing newspaper reviews of their restaurant. They'll always frame them and put them up on the wall. I always love that. It's such a throwback to a simpler, more pure time. And then it's just also just like, hey, this guy in 1985 loved this place. Like, it must be doing something right.
You definitely want that to be pre-2000, and it needs to be like dusty, like it hasn't moved in so long.
The staff, the uniforms are always very specific. The ladies are always wearing these kind of 3/4 sleeve peasant blouses, right, that are kind of white with some of the
same colors as
floral
the,
stitching.
Yes, same
and
colors
stuff.
as the plates. They match the
Right,
plates.
right. And then the men are usually in just very simple polo shirts with the restaurant logo, just all business. All the people who work there have an unbelievable memory, never write anything down. They're always ripped, like their arms are just so ripped because they're carrying those huge platters of food.
No, this is similar to the restaurant where you get the knife. What you look for at this place is they pull out these things from some hidden nook or cranny or alcove, and they're like these open up, and there's these straps, and that's where they put the platter.
It's like a tripod or something.
A staging tray, perhaps that's what you call it. And that's where they lay it all out. And then they're like, all right, you had this, you had that. Don't touch the plate. You had this, you had that.
The company, of course, at one of these places, it's a family restaurant. So you always go with a big group. I remember as a kid, playing in soccer and soccer tournaments, you could show up with like 30 parents and kids and coaches and go to this place, and they'd always serve you, and it was always a great time.
They seat you in the fiesta room.
Right. All right, next type of restaurant we have, the good old-fashioned burger joint. What is the test food? Obviously, at a burger joint.
A double cheeseburger with everything and their fries.
Absolutely. It's important to mention that by burger joint, we're talking specifically about sort of the roadside burger, the smash burger. We're not talking about like tavern burgers, these like big juicy half-pound burgers, medium rare in the middle.
No gastropubs over here.
No thick cut fries, none of that. We're talking just like, very cheap, very simple, like In-N-Out style. You mentioned the burger and fries. Shakes are always great at these places. And then if you're lucky, sometimes you'll get a decent onion ring or a nice little cup of chili as well.
And the burgers can kind of go two ways. Me personally, I like the In-N-Out style where there's lots of veg on it. I like the lettuce, I like the tomato, I like the onions, preferably
spread.
grilled. I like the spread, I like all of that. But there's also, of course, the more stripped down smash burger style, which has become quite popular, where it's just onions and pickles and cheese. And I don't know, how do you feel about that?
I like the simple style. I like the produce style. It's really just an issue of quality of ingredients. Like Italian food, for instance, is known for its simplicity, but the emphasis on quality of ingredients. And it's the same thing. It's like if you have a burger where it's like 5-6 items at most, each one needs to be spectacular. And if it's not going to be a good burger.
I think actually that is what makes In-N-Out such a great place, and so distinctly Californian as well, is that the vegetables are always of the freshest, highest quality, no matter where you're at.
And the fries are pretty good, one of our controversial things.
Yes.
The atmosphere at the burger joint, very sterile. It needs to have this very sanitized, clean feel to it. You don't want to see ketchup stains. It's usually very white, like just white plastic tables, and everything should be easy to wipe down or Swiffer. And, sometimes you'll have kind of vinyl bar stools and booths, but again, easy to wipe up messes. And, if you want, you can also just eat in your car. Take the food. Sometimes you'll go to a drive-in, like a Sonic type place, and you can eat in your car. That's always fun, killing a burger in your car, isn't it?
Absolutely. Not depressing at all. And the staff at these places, typically you'd see like teenagers, people in their early 20s. You want it's almost like a camp counselor feel while still being run with military discipline. Like maybe there's one guy who's been there a long time who's pointing everybody where they are supposed to go. You would sort of think like, oh, burger joint, a greasy spoon. It's okay if it's dirty. I like the precision. I want everything clean. I want eager to please waiters and employees. There's some guy coming around with a sweeper and a receptacle getting everything off the ground.
In-N-Out's a perfect example of it. I'm sure McDonald's in its heyday, was kind of the first one. But yeah, this is kind of the one example of a restaurant we like where it's like we actually want overly polite staff, where it kind of adds to the experience.
I'll also say this. The thing that is a must, and if it does not abide by this, then I don't want to eat there. It's got to come out fast.
Yes.
It's got to come out lightning quick.
Yes, there's a couple these popular smash burger places in Los Angeles that have popped up, and I get it. You're popular. You're busy. I can't wait 30 minutes for a burger.
Get somebody back there who knows what they're doing.
I just can't do it. And they're quick. They're fast. The burgers should be on the grill before I'm ordering it. There's a line. You know what people are ordering. You only have 4 things on the menu. We should be cranking them out.
I would rather my burger have been sitting for 5 minutes than it take 30 minutes and it's cooked to order.
Amen, brother. The company at the burger joint. I love going to a burger joint when I'm on a road trip. We have fond memories traveling down Interstate 5 here in California and going to In-N-Out. There's just something about a burger on a road trip when you're tired, you're cramped, you're sweaty, and you just need a big juicy burger.
It's a little treat. It's a reward. And then also obviously a boozed up stumbling, which is also funny because you're stumbling into some place you're so disorderly, and you're coming into a place that is full of order, and you are rendered more put together by association.
We're mentioning booze and adult beverages. It's important to emphasize that we are, and all people should be responsible with their alcohol consumption.
21 max, 2 drinks.
Absolutely.
Or 20, what am I saying? 21 max, 21 minimum.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, the oldest you should be. Yeah, that's funny. All right, quick break. We'll be right back. Before we commence, I want to do a few honorable mentions. We can't list every type of restaurant, so we're just going to go through these ones very quickly, but we thought they behooved mentioning. The Indian buffet. That is one of our favorites to go to, particularly at lunch. Indian food, all the stews, really lends itself to a buffet. It can kind of sit at a lower temperature, and it's just awesome. You go into a dim Indian buffet. It's delicious.
Yeah, I love that because typically buffets are renowned for how unhealthy they are.
Right.
But for the most part, you're eating a lot of vegetarian, high-fiber meals that also, just nobody makes vegetarian food better than the Indians.
They are awesome. They are also like any buffet a little depressing. So they are awesome restaurants.
Yeah,
but
there's
10% depressing to go.
They
to.
usually have carpet, which is different for sort of a restaurant, and there's like one person working there.
Yes.
It's you're sort of like, am I allowed to just take a plate here? And they're like, yeah. The person gives you a plate, and then they ring you up, and that's the interaction you have with them.
Another type of restaurant, the sushi bar. Very fun to go to a sushi bar, especially for like a date night. I love sitting at the bar watching the sushi chef assemble the rolls, the nigiri, etc. 10% uptight, 10% stuffy, maybe. And obviously it's very expensive, but sushi bar, wonderful restaurant experience.
I do love sushi. I highly respect its style of cuisine. I can't say that I'm often like, I gotta have some sushi right now. I know there are people who are like that, but I'm not one of them.
I definitely have had those cravings in the past. There's certainly bad sushi. Again, it comes down to quality of ingredients. But I've never had the sushi where it just like absolutely blows my mind, and I would take it over, say, the fine Italian eatery. Just personal preference.
I don't know that we've gone to any of those top places. Perhaps been intimidated by the $4 signs next to it on Yelp.
Damn you, Nobu, for not accepting the sponsorship. Last honorable mention: the Thai hole in the wall. There are a lot of great Thai restaurants. You here in your new beautiful apartment. You live very close to Thai Town, and the thing I love about these Thai hole in the walls is they will have the menu items handwritten and tacked up to a wall, which they
Yes.
already have super long menus, but they just depending on hey, we got these fresh ingredients. They have just awesome menus and noodle dishes and soup dishes and protein options, and it's just so fun to go to those types of places.
Flavor profiles off the charts. And the other thing about those tacked to the wall menu items is sometimes they're written in Thai.
Yes.
Which is great too.
Yes.
I like seeing that.
You just point to it. Oh,
It's
I
like, not for
guess.
you. You can't
it's,
have
it's
this,
too
actually.
spicy. Too spicy. All right. Let's keep going. Next type of restaurant, we have the Soul Food / Barbecue Institution. What is the test food at the Soul Food / Barbecue Institution?
You're probably looking for ribs or brisket.
That's kind of, I think, true, especially if it's the barbecue restaurant. If it's the soul food, I would say fried chicken.
Yeah.
I think if it's a soul food joint, it's got to be fried chicken.
If you don't have good fried chicken at a soul food
Oh.
joint, what are you doing?
Bored.
Why did you even open?
Yeah, put a lock on the thing. Both places, though, whether it's soul food or barbecue, they need good mac and cheese. They need good collard greens. They really need those great sides, whether it's, cornbread, coleslaw. They really need the fixins.
Typically, you are ordering a la carte too.
Yes,
like you are
yes.
assembling your own meals. They'll have big platters or whatever
Yeah.
for 4 people to share. But yeah, that's another huge part of it. Is I want variety, and I want also a respect for, oddly, almost counterintuitively, vegetables at this place.
Collard greens have
Yeah.
to be good. If they're
Yeah.
not good or the coleslaw is not good,
Yeah.
it's just that it loses all
Because
credibility.
you can't just solely eat like rich, slow cooked meats and mac and cheese. Maybe this is a point of disagreement
Have
for
you?
us.
Hey, man. Hey, if only. Fried fish, also like a fried catfish, is always awesome at a soul food place. The desserts, always great. Barbecue, soul food, the banana pudding, the sweet potato pie, any of that stuff is just killer.
Phenomenal.
Atmosphere at these types of places. I think if it's a barbecue joint, it always helps to have some sort of outdoor porch style element, like a big patio. There should be kind of like sports memorabilia. There's usually kind of these tchotchkes or little posters that play on the fact that they're like killing tons of animals to make the meat. So it'll be like a pig with like its thumbs up, or like
Wearing an apron in front of a
Right,
barbecue that's grilling brats or hot links. Hot links are another major thing at these places.
It makes you feel a little less guilty about like, oh God, like ribs. Hard to have some distance from what ribs actually are.
The other critical element is it needs to have a smoker on site. I want to see it. I want to smell it. I want to smell the wood. I want to smell the meat. I want to see a guy going out there, whipping it open. It exhales its smoky breath and pulling out some piece of meat that looks like it's just about to fall apart.
Different barbecue sauces as well. If it's a soul food joint, the place should look like a house almost, like it wasn't originally a restaurant. It should have almost that living room feel. It should have kind of an odd layout. It should have very eclectic, almost like Marshall's Ross decor that's just kind of hodgepodgey. But soul food restaurants, more than any other type of restaurant, I would say, they make you feel like you are eating at someone's house. They make you feel, they call it soul food. It's good for your soul. You should feel warm. You should feel comforted. It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest cuisines there is.
Agreed. And I think that fits with this is the staff there. We want the friendliness, we want the politeness, but there is this faux service industry politeness. That's not what's here. It almost needs to come from the inside of this person, that they themselves have consumed so much soul food that they have a good soul, and that is radiating out to you, and they're joyous about bringing these great foods to your table.
Anyone who makes soul food for a living, owns a soul food restaurant, they always say the same thing. The food has to be made with love, and it has to be served with love. And it is something that can sound cliche or can sound corny, but my God, is it true? And you can literally taste the difference.
I'll say you actually don't need most foods to be made with love. Some foods are made with contempt for the customer.
Sniper-like precision.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. But this one, it takes so long. The love in it is you're patient. Love is patient, as the
Love is
Bible
kind,
says.
yes.
And this is what is necessary for most things that are served at a soul food restaurant, they usually take time.
They're also really generous. I've found that if you're at a soul food restaurant, they'll often give you something for free. Like particularly if you're very complimentary or
Yeah.
something, it's like, oh, I got a thing of banana pudding or
Yeah.
something. Like the people at soul food restaurants, like any single one I've been to, it's just insanely generous.
Good folks, salt of the earth.
The company you bring to a soul food restaurant or barbecue institution, again, got to be family. It's got to be, a big family celebration. Or if you're a big guy like me, or you're a guy like you who's got a big appetite, you got some friends like you who also have appetites, are big guys or both. That's who you bring there to put down some serious chow.
Yeah, you want like to go with offensive linemen.
Yes, it also too, like a soul food or barbecue place is great for like you have a friend who's been vegan for 5 years and they're finally gonna break it. That's where you take them. Or you got a big cheat day. You're The Rock. You got a big cheat day. You go
Shannon Sharp famously has a
the meme.
yes,
the meme
yes,
of him eating
yes.
soul food. Yeah.
Which it looks like is, I don't know if we're allowed to even talk about Shannon Sharp anymore, but in that meme, doesn't it look like it's like 10:30 a.m.
Yes, it
wherever
does,
he is?
yes,
There's
he's-
nobody else around him
Yes, it's an ungodly early hour to be eating that food.
before he does 7 hours of podcasting or
Yeah.
sports talk.
Next type of restaurant, we have the New York style pizza parlor. We're very specific with this, saying New York style. We're not talking about kind of pizza parlors where there's the arcade, the sort of round table Pizza Hut style. We're talking New York style, get a slice pizza parlor. What is the test food then at the New York style pizza parlor?
Pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, I would say a slice of cheese would do as well, but I think pepperoni is like kind of a good baseline.
You got to have good pepperoni. I mean, pepperoni, I think, is one of the underrated meats. It really, for whatever reason, is only deployed in this one setting on top of pizza, and I think it's just so good. We've gotten it occasionally from delis. They do these things where, obviously, pepperonis, they're come in these logs with rounded edges, which the rounded edges do not make for pepperoni slices, and so they cut them off and they cut those into 4, and you can get these pepperoni corners. They're great. But yes, these are places that are all about the pizza.
They usually have like about a dozen different pizzas. Like I said, you can get them by the slice, you can get them whole. Occasionally they'll have a couple pastas on the menu, maybe like a meatball sub, a couple desserts, tiramisu, cannoli, and that's pretty much it. The atmosphere is always fun at these types of places. Again, they're usually in New York, but you can kind of find one in every town. They always have pictures of prominent Italian Americans. There's a very famous scene from Do the Right Thing where, Mookie talks about this with Sal. And, Frank Sinatra's got to be up there, Pacino, De Niro. There's always got to be like a Goodfellas or Godfather poster.
Depending on the generation.
Right.
Of the place.
Right. Yeah. Sopranos, if they're a little younger. There always needs to be, these places always sponsor like a little league team.
Yeah.
So there should be one or more photos of like a little league team wearing like Sal's Pizza on their
Yeah.
like little league jersey.
Extra points if they're posing with a comically large trophy.
And there always is, sports memorabilia. The owner's usually from New York. So you'll see like Yankees memorabilia or God forbid, Mets memorabilia. And the wooden booths they'll kind of have as well. They'll usually be painted. There won't be really any cushions. It's very pragmatic furniture. The TV will have the game on. And again, you're not going to be hanging out there very long unless you own the place or the friends with the owner, right? It's a
Yeah.
pretty utilitarian in, you're out.
Yeah.
The staff, hilarious. The guy who owns it, it's always a guy usually. He's usually, late 30s to middle age, kind of a surly guy, and just pizza's his life.
Yeah, he's sweaty. He's like, there's a thin layer of sweat on him all the time because he's just around the ovens. Often he's either wearing a t-shirt is a must, never
Yeah.
long sleeves,
Or
never
shorts or no sleeve.
Yes, even no sleeves sometimes if it's in the summer. And he looks like his sweat, which is always on him, smells of pepperoni.
And the apron he'll have on, you got to have a tomato sauce stain on
Yes.
there as well.
This is a place where I am not as concerned about cleanliness, mainly because these pizza ovens are so hot.
Right.
Like they're
Any bacteria's cooking off.
vaporizing it.
Sometimes a younger man will be assisting him, but
The
not
apprentice.
Always. Yes, the apprentice pizza maker. Not always necessary, though. The company, the occasions in which you go to the New York style pizza parlor, you are usually alone in a rush. Sometimes, if like you're on if you're a teenager or something, you'll like be on a date or with
It's a
like
good like middle of a relationship. You're not in the first 4 or 5 dates.
Yes.
You're kind of getting into it, getting comfortable.
good during a beach day, or like if you're visiting New York or visiting a town and you want a quick slice. It's always pretty awesome. Or just just the nuclear family, right? Tight unit. You go in there with a tight unit.
Yeah, you're going in with a plan, and the plan is to eat pizza.
Next type of restaurant, where this is going to encompass quite a few, but we are calling this category Mediterranean/Middle Eastern family style restaurant. So this would include Greek food, Armenian food, Lebanese. We're painting with kind of a broad brush here, but the test dish is in common with all these. What is the test dish?
The hummus.
Yeah, gotta be.
There's no necessarily like one perfect way to make hummus. I would say this is a versatile spread. However, it just has to be good.
Yeah, there's several approaches. You can have a chunkier style with kind of some like garbanzo beans on top. You can have the very pureed, creamy style that almost has like some Greek yogurt in it. You need really high quality olive oil. The places that don't have high quality olive oil, it just that dog won't hunt. And hummus really though, it's like the first thing you get. Most of these test dishes, it's the first thing you get, right? And you just like taste it, and you're gonna know whether or not it's a good place.
Yeah, you also need to probably have a pretty decent pita going along with it.
You got some. Just a lot of great food items at these types of restaurants. Lamb or beef is always wonderful. You want that grilled, the kebabs,
Shish
the skewers.
kebab.
Yeah, the grilled chicken. These big platters of grilled meat. It's nice when they come with kind of the whole grilled tomatoes and onions as accoutrement.
Yeah, and then there's the sort of more specific stuff to these restaurants: the tzatziki, the baba ganoush tzatziki, of course, the yogurt-based dip/sauce with cucumber and herbs. Baba ganoush, very heavily roasted eggplants turned into a pudding. There's this usually a white garlic puree.
Yeah, they'll call it like a garlic sauce you put on the meats. God, it's wonderful.
Yeah, usually it's thick too.
Yeah, it's very
really,
ton of garlic.
Yeah,
in
and
it.
it'll make your breath stink. But
And
it's so
you
good.
like those the grape leaf stuff, the rice stuff, grape leaves.
Dolomas.
You really like
yes,
those.
Those have a nice. I just love the look of them. I wouldn't say that
they're elegant.
they're the best tasting thing on the menu, but they're a nice sort of palate cleansers. You're moving from meats and dips.
Not rich enough for old Jim, sadly. Greek salad, feta, also always great. And then, as we said, the olive oil has to be spectacular. The atmosphere at these places, they are one of the most transportative of all the types of restaurants we're talking about. I think a lot of it is due to the decor, similar to these Mexican-American hot, thick platter restaurants with the pastoral dream of Mexico. These places take you right to the Mediterranean or right to the Middle East, and they really want to transport you there.
Yeah, there's like these stone pillars that are either in the restaurant or painted on the walls. They're trying to make you almost feel like you're in the Parthenon.
Yes. There's always a lot of like olive orchards or like olive motifs, olive branches. If it's a Greek joint, there's always a ton of blue and white. Those are virtually the only colors you will see. The staff at these places are always very friendly. It's usually like a husband and wife own it. Again, it's the husband in the kitchen doing the grill and the wife out front.
That's just the
schmoozing.
Greek version of the diner here.
Yeah.
And really, these cultures, I would say, are particularly known for pride in their food, and
Yes.
particularly these people. They're welcoming in the way that it's like at a soul food restaurant. I mean, this is soul food for this part of the world, and they want you to appreciate what they have. And this goes for a lot of restaurants, but it's particularly here. They love hearing like, man, this is the best hummus I've ever had, or that kebab you made is fantastic. Because there are a lot of different people making this food. It's a tradition that stretches back thousands of years. It's
Huge amount of pride in their food.
Yeah.
The company you'll bring to one of these places, again, big family. You could do a date at these places, but it's kind of better to go with more people because you can try more stuff. If you go with a date, it's like, well, you can get a couple spreads and like appetizers, and maybe you could share a platter, but like, I don't know, it's a little expensive for like a couple people. So it's nice to like have a big group and you try a bunch of stuff, and it's like, hopefully you go with some people with some smaller appetites and you can mop up, have a little more than your fair share.
Yeah, I would say that goes hand in hand with occasionally they will try to upsell you a bit because there's so many things here. It's just like, well, it's all just dips.
Yes,
you know,
it's only $8.
how much-
I ordered 18 of them. Oh God, yeah.
How much do dips really fill you up?
Last type of restaurant, we've done it. We have arrived at the Chinese sit-down restaurant. So again, we're not talking the Panda Express, get it to go. This is the come on in Chinese sit-down restaurant. What is the test food at the Chinese sit-down restaurant?
Well, people's mileage may vary, but for us, it's the beef chow fun.
Yeah, I think you can also say chow mein. You can say fried rice, any very simple kind of Americanized Chinese dish. Chow fun is very similar to chow mein. It's got more of a black bean based sauce, a lot of black pepper. The noodles are very thick and flat. It's one of my favorite foods in the entire world.
I think whatever magic happens when those thick, flat, wide noodles hit the searing wok,
Yes.
you want to see the char marks on
Yes,
those noodles from
absolutely.
being tossed in there. I can't imagine for more than 1 minute, but at what probably rounds up to 1,000,000 degrees.
Other great dishes, you got kung pao chicken, you got beef and broccoli, you got the salt and pepper fish, you've got the beautiful garlic vegetables like garlic green beans or, eggplant and garlic sauce. The dishes they will always have at these Chinese sit-down restaurants, we call these ones fried and covered in syrup. They are the honey walnut shrimp, the orange chicken, the sweet and sour chicken. It is just so funny. As a kid, you love these dishes. As you get older, you realize how naughty they are. But they really are just deep fried hunks of meat that are covered in syrup, aren't they?
It's really the only cuisine I feel like that successfully mixes like sweet and not just savory, but like a garlicky savory. Like you don't typically see those things work, but in these places they do.
They make it work. Other good test foods, I would say, is the soups they'll bring you at these Chinese sit-down restaurants. I love when they bring you the little thing of soup. They'll bring you an egg drop soup or a wonton soup. That's always a good test. If you kind of have the broth and you're like, oh, this was like maybe made with tap water that wasn't filtered too well, or oh, this has been sitting on the stove too long, it's like not a good sign. But if it's like, ooh, nice temperature, very fresh, very tasty, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, you love it when they bring out the tea to it. It gives it this high class. If you get both the tea and the soup, ooh, then you're really in business.
Now you're cooking with gas. These places always have like Formica tables in terms of their atmosphere, right? They have like those big. They will have like sometimes you'll have like an 8 top with like the lazy Susan in the middle if you get a bunch of different dishes. The chairs are very utilitarian. I love sitting in a booth though. We're big booth guys at any of these joints. Yeah.
It makes you feel comfortable, which is funny because it makes you feel like you're at home, but no home has a booth. And the other thing that they've got going on is there's always the lucky cat with its paw up, and there's like dollars like either taped to it or tucked into it for luck. The red and gold, the paper lanterns. I want to see some jade somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, and these watercolor murals of rural China. That's what I'm looking for.
I like the teacups too at these Chinese sit down. You sit down, you get the big pot of tea and the teacups. There's always like a TV in these places, which always feels odd. And then the TV's usually playing something very bizarre. Like it'll be an old movie like on FX, or it'll be like a Chinese soap opera or like the Travel Channel. It'll just be, there's never any rhyme or reason to
so
it.
maybe you'll get a game of some sort if it's a really major occasion. To me, it feels the most like the TVs at this place are for the staff.
Yeah, just to keep the boredom away.
Yeah, there is one place that we used to go to in Sacramento that is under new ownership now, has a totally different name, but they had this table full of people who it seemed like either lived next door or upstairs, and they were always watching these Chinese soap operas and paying zero. Like it was like this was one that really felt like you were going into somebody's house because it was like, oh, am I allowed to be in here? It's like, oh yeah, take this table right here. But then the rest of the time they'd be talking in Chinese about what's going on the TV.
It's funny when you go to those restaurants where it's like, we're kind of just a place to hang out, and if people show up, I guess we'll serve them. The staff at the Chinese sit-down restaurants, it's kind of funny. They're Chinese etiquette is very different from American etiquette, right? And so there is this lack of what we love in America, the faux friendly, hi,
Yes.
how are you? There's really none of that often at the Chinese sit down. It's very business-like. It's very formal. It's purely pragmatic. There aren't a ton of you're welcomes. There aren't a ton of
Yes.
thank yous.
Yeah.
When kind of the check arrives and everything, everything's all settled up. There's kind of like a nice final goodbye. And sort of when you come in, there's a nice friendly hello, nice goodbye. But in the middle, it's basically just pure business.
It's time to chow. And yeah, they want to. It seems like they're kind of turning over these tables, and there's also the that there are conversations happening. They're just not happening with you. They're happening in the kitchen. They're
Right,
happening
right.
among the staff, typically in Chinese, which I like feeling sometimes on the outside of what the staff
Yeah.
is going. There are some like soul food restaurants you want to feel welcome in. Chinese restaurant, I'm totally cool with this being a utilitarian,
Yes.
purely transactional situation.
It should be compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Finally, the company of the Chinese sit-down restaurant. I find it to be the most versatile, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
you can go with anybody. You can go alone. You can go with a big group. You can go for a celebration. You can go if you're depressed. You can go for any reason
you're
at all.
stoked.
Yeah.
All right, wrapping up here. We talked about all these great types of restaurants. We didn't put them in any order, but let's sort of, as we summarize here, talk about sort of our favorites, what we consider maybe the best, and I'll just fire a couple questions and we can discuss. What do you think is the best, quote unquote, type of cuisine? And that's maybe unfair to ask, so maybe I'll reframe it as, what is your favorite type of cuisine?
I'd say living in California, I really have a soft spot for Mexican food. I think in
yeah.
terms of like my daily go-to, something that I know how to cook decently well myself and always am happy to go out for that type of food, I think I'm a big Mexican food guy.
I agree. I think in terms of everyday eating, it's what I eat the most of as a cuisine. I think particularly moving down to Los Angeles, but it's very affordable. It's very versatile. Like the amount of things you can do in Mexican cuisine with corn tortillas and beans.
Yeah.
Like you can have chilaquiles, you can have tacos, you can have burritos. Like there's just a million different things you can make,
Great
right?
takes on every type of meat, a real focus on freshness,
Yeah.
particularly in the salsas, and just it's not very expensive. It's something that you can easily pull off yourself too.
Most foodies kind of consider French, Japanese, Italian to be sort of the pinnacle of cuisine. I think it's perhaps true in terms of a fine dining context. When I think of Italian, I think of, as we've talked about, quality of ingredients. When we talk about French, I think you're focusing on technique. And then Japanese, it's almost like precision artistry. There's almost a mathematical nature to it. So I think in terms of like the upper echelon, we're guys who've watched a lot of Iron Chef, and it's like those were the three cuisines in addition to Chinese, right? So those were almost, for a long time, I think, seen as kind of the pinnacle. But I think in recent years, Mexican has evolved quite a bit. A lot of these other cuisines have evolved and gotten that similar stature.
The other one that I would put right up there is all the barbecue/soul food styles of restaurant. I think that requires a similar level of skill. It's one that requires more patience than the other cuisines. It's something where it's fascinating because so much of it is not touching it. Just leaving it, like setting everything up right, getting your marinade, getting your rub, getting your sauces correct, and then just letting it sit and get extra delicious.
I think barbecue soul food up there again. Not something you can eat every day, so it's more kind of special occasion.
But that's
like
why
once a month.
it fits into that sort of Japanese, Italian, fine French.
No, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. I think too, like Thai, Korean, Vietnamese, that's all very good everyday food. I really could never get tired of that. Don't you feel like you could eat that every day of your life?
Who can discount the Mediterranean food as well? You know what? I think every type of food, when it's done well, is great. Who can say that it isn't?
I would say for me, though, to put a button on it, my favorite everyday food is Mexican, special occasion Italian.
Beautiful. I'd probably agree with that.
How about that? This may be the first time we've ever agreed on this.
We're
podcast.
typically so at each other's throats.
Yeah. It's as if we've spent a lot of time together.
And all of our formative moments.
Yeah. Well, time to wrap up, I suppose.
Check, please.
Hey, good one. Please subscribe, comment, and leave a rating. Send questions, comments, or big idea suggestions to our business email, flynnbrospod@gmail.com. You might get your email read on air. Who
That's
knows?
right.
Who knows? Thank you to our producer, Will Slade, and we'll see you next time on the Flynn Brothers Podcast. Take care, buddy.
Buddy, you take care.